That thing. Good. And there's people there already. Things look good. Let me just take a look at the, only one connecting right now online, but there usually a few more will appear because they don't have any way to know exactly when they start. So you usually only get a few visiting the live stream, but they like to look at the video later. Anyway, let me put that up there. All right. And so your thing, let me get rid of this thing and this thing there. All right.
Got it. Cool. All right. Everybody in the right place? Information security, analyst apprenticeship, info session. How many of you were at the last one? Okay, quite a few. Not a whole lot has changed. I got a little bit more additional information, some information about the wage. We'll hit that as we go through. Starts in the fall of 2018, right? Pre-apprenticeship courses are happening now. There'll be some in the summer. Richard, did you say that we were going to have some of those online in the summer too?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
But they'll be CNET 40 this summer.
CNET 40. Okay, the other ones won't be online. And then CNET 40, which is not offered this semester. That's why it's an issue. CNET 40, it's a pre-apprenticeship course offered in the summer, and then it might be offered in the fall as well, right?
I don't think we're planning to offer it in the fall,
okay.
But we might if it's necessary.
Yeah. Okay.
But are we going to offer it in the summer?
In the summer, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
If you haven't taken it.
Alex in the summer, right?
Well, that's
yeah.
my understanding.
And I guess, but he can't do it in the fall. We'll work it out.
All right, so you see, there's some debate about this, all right?
Yeah.
So I want you to keep your ear up.
Yeah.
Because DNS 40 is something that a lot of people haven't taken,
yeah.
And it's a prerequisite. So keep your ears up on that one, all right?
Take it in the summer, for sure.
What about any classes in Spanish?
So I just gave those to you because if you're done with all the cybersecurity, a lot of the cybersecurity stuff, and you're looking for some other things to take in the field that will, help your application, those are classes that listed there that are going to be taken as, for most people, probably as part of the apprenticeship. Okay.
Are they offered in the summer?
I don't think so.
I don't think anything's going to be in the summer.
But remember, February 2nd, last day to add. Some of them might be open. I'm not sure. Okay. And also, the cohort, you might not get into the fall cohort, and you'll be looking for other classes to take to apply for the spring cohort. Those will all help. Okay. All right. Okay. Why choose information security analyst as a profession? Does anybody want to answer that question? Who's really interested? Like, they just live and breathe it all the time. You. Okay. Tell me why you want to do that.
Well, I'm currently in.
Why you? Oh, you are. Okay. So you are. And you want to do this apprenticeship?
I want to do the apprenticeship because it's for a lack of certification.
Okay. All right. That's a whole other question. Interesting. Anybody else got a real burning passion for information security and wants to say why? Okay. Number one, it's incredibly rapidly growing. There are a huge number of vacancies. In sort of at the mid-level, right? They're having a hard time finding people who are trained, who can go in and do the work. And there's something that I wanted to mention in relation to this. They say 20,000 open positions. We probably wonder why, if you've got some training in IT and in information security, why can't you just go out and get a job right now, right? It's because there's a big gap between basic IT training and competent cybersecurity professionals. One thing I want to mention is that I've talked to a lot of folks recently about how to get a cybersecurity job, and they say go into entry-level IT or go into an IT job in a company that has a cybersecurity department and then move up laterally into that department. Some of you, right? Some of you already have taken all the classes here. You're cybersecurity wizards, right? The apprenticeship has 25 spots. If you don't get in, you might want to consider working. Start in an IT job and work yourself laterally up into the cybersecurity position. If the company doesn't have cybersecurity, well, you might not want to work for that company. Okay? How do people feel about that? Does that sound reasonable? Right? I have had some of you cybersecurity students come into my office like, oh, I don't want to do basic IT. I'm too highly educated, right? That is the pathway whereby most people get into cybersecurity. Okay, so just mull on that one. Think about it for a little while. You can come meet me and talk to me more about it. Let's see, how did I do this? I hit this button wrong all the time. The demand is great, the wages are high. That's the salary outlook for somebody who actually is working entry level at a higher level, well-trained job in cybersecurity. We've heard that certain students here have got those jobs over time. Right? So this, right. All right. So why choose the apprenticeship, right? Apprenticeships are paid. They're full-time. That means 32 hours in this context. On-the-job training programs, real-world experience, latest hardware and software. You get the ongoing academic study, those classes that are on the back of that sheet, and then apprentices are often hired by the company, right? A lot of people, they ask me, is it guaranteed hire? No, it's not a guaranteed hire. But if a company paid all or some of your wages for 18 months and spent 18 months training you, guess what? They want to hire you, right? You'd have to, make some sort of royal faux pas, right, to not get hired if you completed an 18-month apprenticeship. All right, so shouldn't worry about that too much, but it's not guaranteed. Okay, different kinds of jobs in information security. Right now I'm taking the forensic computer analyst class. Alan's telling us a lot about, what those kind of jobs are like. I would like maybe the instructors could say a little bit about these different categories. Alan, would you like to say a little bit about the forensic computer specialist position, what they do?
Well, it boils down to taking a look at computers, the contents of computers, and seeing if somebody's been doing something bad. Whether that's a violation of criminal law, or in other cases, simply a violation of a company's policy. A rogue employee who's up to no good. So a forensic analyst will be taking a look at computers and other devices, digital devices, and analyzing those for some kind of bad behavior. And there are lots of positions in this. Certainly there are a lot of positions in law enforcement for forensic analysts, but also in the private sector. There are a number of positions with consulting groups, and many companies, larger companies, also have forensic teams that work on devices throughout the company's install base.
So if you like catching the bad guys, right, because you examine that evidence and write a report that's hopefully going to be used in court some way to actually catch someone. If you like seeing that result, if you're very results oriented, that might be a great job for you. Information security analyst. That can be a lot of things. It's kind of a general category. That's the name of our apprenticeship. Penetration tester. Which of you instruct? Sam, there you go.
That's really growing. I thought only a few people would get this, but a lot of my students are getting it, and we're now in the competitions. We're in the collegiate pen testing competition, and we made it to the nationals. So we're up among the top 10 schools in that field, and a lot of my students have in fact gotten pen testing jobs. It is not that rare anymore. These are the people who attack systems for a living. And logically, you would think you need 100 defenders for every attacker, but there's getting to be a lot of attack jobs. So the pen testers are more helpful to their targets than I had imagined. You have to find your way in, and then you write a whole report documenting what you recommend they do, and you help them fix it. And that is something every company expects to do every year or so now, and they hire pen testers to do it. So it's a form of consulting that's very exciting, but it's very demanding. You have to be really at the top of your game and always learning the new tricks.
Thank you, Sam. How many of you does that appeal to? How many would like to be pen testers? Not too many. Can you raise them up again? Let me see. Okay, a few. All right. Sounds kind of fun to me. You like, you like that kind of.
It's like being a criminal.
Yeah, you get to attack, but in a virtuous way.
Yeah.
All right.
Places to kill.
Security architect. Who can answer that question? Richard, maybe? You know, if you show up here as instructor, I'm going to ask you a question, right?
So security architect usually, when a company is usually a high-level person who design and put out what security feature, product, or depends on what area and what design. Say this is the layout that we would like to have for certain specifications. So it's a pretty high-level position.
Okay. IT security engineers, probably the same kind of a position, more or less. I'm sorry.
Question on that. Sam, do you think that's a CISSP type or? I mean,
That looks like CISO is the most direct match to CISSP.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, CISSP, my understanding, has some management in it, right?
Right, that's management.
Okay.
And that's what the CISSP is aiming for, being the CSO.
So this guy is the most technically knowledgeable on the actual security product. To be able
Not the CISO.
No,
security
architect.
Probably so.
Okay.
I'm just guessing. I'm not quite sure of that term. I know the Microsoft architect is the most knowledgeable about the Windows domains.
Yeah.
So I guess it'd be the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. Security systems administrator, the day-to-day security stuff, right?
Yeah. I know
What
that.
kind of a job is that?
Well, I know they have firewall administrators, and I guess they have other ones. These are probably people who work in the security operations center.
And these are the people that catch stuff as it happens. They're the ones
Yeah.
who the alarm goes off, and they're
This is
they
what-
scramble.
This is what Homer Simpson does.
Okay.
Hopefully you will that.
You sit around and sit on the ground.
Okay. So what do you actually do in these jobs, right? You prevent attacks through your knowledge of protocols, databases, networks, hardware, firewalls, encryption. You got to know more than just security. You have to know operating systems. You have to know how databases work in terms of how they're breached. It's hard to do security if you just know a few things. You really have to be fairly well-rounded. There's a document going around here that kind of says what you need to learn. You know, you need to learn some Linux, you need to know some Windows. It might be good to know some scripting language. And, you know, if you are just planning on taking the 4 classes and then the classes, you know, that you take further on, you just might want to think, if you've got time, if you don't get into the first cohort, you've got time, do some of that other stuff, okay? To make yourself more well-rounded and more useful. And guess what? That stuff will become also useful just in general IT, right? Okay. All right. So you do all the permissions and regulate files and users and then make sure security is up to date. I've had to update a couple of my computers recently, and to find out if you really know what you're doing when you're updating, it's pretty complicated, even with what seem like relatively simple systems. So you really have to stay up to date on all that stuff. A large part of any IT job, from what I've heard, is you spend time staying current. You spend time studying the latest stuff, getting the latest certifications. If you want to go into IT, you want to go into security, it is a learner's job. I had a woman walk into my office recently, and she said, you know, I worked at this place for a long time. I'm in just general IT, a lot of desktop support, a lot of help desk. And she said, you know, I didn't really see the need to update my skill set, right? And after all that time, she got let go, okay? They just eliminated her position, created another one, and hired somebody who was current. So she's back here at the college studying her ass off to get more certifications and learn the newest stuff so that she can go back and get another IT job. All right? So staying up to date, extremely important. What do you actually do? Continue. Respond to real-time incidents. That actually sounds kind of fun, right? How many people have been on an IT job when there's been a major breach that just happened? Anybody? Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. How was that?
It was interesting.
It was interesting.
It was the I love you virus a while back. It was an email virus. Somebody opened it up and it just like spread like wildfire. And
Right.
before you know it, the email server's down and nobody can use it. Yeah.
So if you want a job where you're going to have that happen, right, on your shift, a real-time event that's dangerous, you have to be pretty stable. You have to not get overwhelmed and stressed out, right? I have heard of some students who have just found this kind of work to be, you know, unless they have like a really strongly developed set of coping skills and understand things in context of the overall environment, and that if you choose a job as a fire person, you know, fireman, firewoman, you're going to go to fires, and it's going to be scary, right? So, you know, be ready for that. Don't be one of those people who, you know, has a bit of a collapse when it hits the fan, right? Think about that. Stressful environment. Pick a stressful job. You better be comfortable with stress. A lot of people who do work like that, they get an adrenaline rush and they love it. Other people freak out. Think about it before you choose that kind of a job. Recover data from attacks and system failures. That's more like the forensic stuff. Little more low key, right? Little more low key job. Know your temperament. Develop and maintain overall security policies that ensure confidentiality. Writing policies. This has more to do with management and administration, right? If you like that kind of thing, if you like, and a lot of people do, here we call them grants administrators at the college. If you like doing that kind of work, you like writing, you like planning, that could be a job for you. Prerequisites to apply for the program. How many have not heard this list yet? Okay, good. That's good. All right. Domain name systems, CNET 40. It's going to be taught in the summer, right? It's not offered this semester. It's a short-term class, like what, 5 classes that are how long each? 6 classes?
3 hours each.
3 hours each. How many units?
1.
1, okay? This is not going to kill you, this class, okay? Introduction to networks. Rich, can they take 201C instead of 106?
Yes.
Okay, everybody understand that. If they have a relatively recent CCNA certification, do they need to do all the other stuff?
No.
No? You hear that? A couple people have asked me that. How recent?
The newest one is 3 years.
3 years? Okay.
Well, what we've done before is they can just take the final, a 201C. That's what we usually do.
So is that?
So just come and see me, guys.
That's what I've been telling people.
Yeah.
If you're in one of those situations where you're trying to get some things to qualify, go talk to Richard.
Yeah.
All right?
Or Sam.
Or Sam.
Yeah.
Okay. But, you know, remember, on top of the CCNA stuff, there's all those other classes that are, you know, meant to be taken during the apprenticeship. So you can take those classes even if you've got that kind of thing. It's not going to hurt you. It could only help you. Right? Network security. One thing I want to say about these, especially 106 and 120, there's certifications you can get. Okay? Certification. So when you apply to this apprenticeship, when you apply, you're going to be interviewed by a committee of folks from the school, most likely in the beginning. Right? There'll be faculty. There'll be some career services staff. There'll probably be some administrators. And then you're going to be people who are, that we think, you know, are qualified. They're going to be put into a pool. And then most likely, there's going to be 2 or 3 folks sent to each employer for that one spot, or 2, 3, 4 spots. They're going to get to interview multiple people for those spots. All right? So when they're looking at those people, certifications are going to count. If you've got 2 people, even though a lot of people say, oh, certifications are that important, when you do the work, it's no big deal. But what a certification shows is that you are capable of learning on your own. Because we all know the classes aren't enough to pass the certification. You're going to have to do self-study. You're going to have to take practice tests. And that's going to be how you pass certifications. If you have passed those, especially these 2 here, they're going to know that you're capable of self-learning, self-study, doing the kind of thing that keeps you up to date on the job. I've heard many times from different folks that when you're on these IT jobs, when you're working in a professional environment, you are expected to go figure out stuff on your own. All right? Apprenticeship, they're going to show you some stuff. But the people who are like the real go-getters in terms of learning things on the fly are the one, and you can demonstrate that, it's going to help. The guy that I told you about that got the Lawrence Livermore Labs 1-year contract job, he answered a bunch of questions related to Linux network administration, got most of them right, and then they asked him a question he's like, oh, God, I don't know the answer to this one. He said, do you mind if I go sit at the computer and go to Google for 5 minutes and come back and take the answer? And they said, sure. He did that, and when he gave them the right answer, they told him, we loved that, right? That means he's not going to go knocking on everybody's door trying to find out the answer to a question. So certifications can show that you have that ability. And also, if you've got two people, right, they're exactly the same, and one's got a couple of certifications, who are they going to hire? All right? Okay, here's the other classes. Those classes are on the back of the flyer. That's there's 100 of those flyers there. I think we probably have enough. If you have done everything and you're thinking of other stuff to take, consider these classes. Okay. Note, we call taking the 4 classes the pre-apprenticeship program. It's a bit of a misnomer. If you take those classes, you're not in a program. Okay? And it is no guarantee that if you take those 4 classes that you're going to get into the program, especially the first couple of cohorts, because there's a lot of folks around here who have taken every class under the sun in the program here. You just want to be realistic. I want to set realistic expectations. Okay? And if you have done a lot of the requirements, it is not a guarantee that you're going to get into the program, right? Competition is, you know, frankly, folks, expected to be fierce, right? One of the things that you might consider is if you're at the top of the heap in terms of having taken classes, you've got some certs, maybe you've got your AA, you've done everything you can do, and you don't get into the apprenticeship, take a regular IT job and start moving laterally into cybersecurity. All right? I know there's a lot of people here who really like this idea of the apprenticeship, but we got 25 spots in the fall and 25 spots in the spring, right? Don't sit around forgetting everything you learned in all those classes you took, waiting for the apprenticeship. Find work. Apply. You can apply for the apprenticeship if you already have a job, right, Richard?
Yes.
Okay. How do people feel about that? Everybody okay with that? Yes, sir.
Thumbs up.
Oh, thumbs up. Okay, good. All right. You'll be evaluated based on a combination of factors. Academic success, obviously. Certifications. Work experience. Your technical skills learned on the job. I'll get back to that in a second. Soft skills. Communication and people skills. All right? Some of us get into tech because we want to sit behind a computer and not talk to everybody too much. Not like that anymore, right? You work in teams. These problems are so big, they don't give them to one person to solve, right? Unless you're like in academia or research or that kind of thing. But if you're getting a cybersecurity job, you're going to work in teams, right? If you haven't had much experience in doing that, you really need to learn about it. You can go online. You can participate in some group projects. You know, you have to look at your social skills in a team setting. I have heard a million times around here from folks that people get jobs based on their tech skills and they lose them based on their lack of soft skills, right? The next thing, it might be a little challenging for some folks, but actually I'll go first to the estimate of ability to complete the apprenticeship. Resilience. Can anybody tell me what resilience is?
Yeah, the ability to bounce back from a situation.
Okay, good definition. Anybody else? Okay. It's basically the ability to stick to something despite problems that come up. All right? We don't want to fill an apprenticeship spot with an employer with somebody who's going to not make it through. So we are going to be looking for signs of resilience. All right? What would those typically be in this academic setting?
Don't just give up the first time.
Yeah, we want to see people who have consistently, you know, let's say they took a class, they didn't do too well, you know, they came back, they tried it again, right? We want to see people who've had a fairly consecutive, you know, progression through the classes, who've stuck to it for a long time. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be perfect, right? You can compensate for those imperfections by sheer brilliance and, you know, those kinds of qualities. But, you know, resiliency, it's an 18-month program. in a real cybersecurity environment.
People that are coachable. This is really important.
Coachable, right. Some of you are so, especially some in the advanced cybersecurity classes, are obviously really smart, right? Really, really smart people are often too smart for their own good, right? They think they know everything. There are other people that know as much as they do, but they think they know everything. And maybe, they can't hear anybody else's idea. They're always telling people what to do. Those people, yeah, they're brilliant, but nobody can work with them, right? And so they get asked to leave or edged out, right? Some of you all who are like the superstars, you need to look at yourself and ask the question, am I too smart for my own good, right? Do I find myself giving people ideas all the time and, having issues around competing ways of doing things? If that's the case, you need to look at that, all right? More about resilience. If you have a job in IT, or you get a job in IT, and you stick to it for a while, right, even an entry-level job, that means when you apply, we're like, oh, this person can do it, right? They've got a real job. 40 hours a week, working IT. 32 hours a week, working IT, right? That means you can complete, right? We're going to be really looking at that. Okay, I talked about this a little bit before. Faculty, administrators, career services staff will select a pool of candidates. Everybody understand this? Doesn't mean you're in, right? You'll get, a notice saying, hey, you've been accepted to interview with employers. Doesn't mean the employers are going to pick you. We're going to try our best. We're going to structure that pool so that we think, to the degree that we think everybody's going to get hired. That's who's going to be in the pool. But there's a possibility that an employer won't pick you. And then we just move on to the next one. Okay? So, again, realistic expectations. All right? Employer has the power for hiring. Employer has the power. So, you see people that are going to be on the committee that you know here, and you're comfortable here, and you'll get through that process, okay? But what do you have to have when you go in front of that employer? Excellent interview skills, right? A strong resume, a list of projects that you've worked on, an answer to the question, tell me about some problems that you solved, right? All that stuff that is associated with applying for a regular job, you're going to have polished and honed in order to go in front of an employer for that interview. All right, remember that. You want to be competitive for this? Remember that. And we have workshops and things like that here at City College, and this might be a good time to talk about a little bit about the CNET 11 class. 11, not 111, right? 11. Yeah.
11.
Okay, 11. That's going to be a professional development class where it's going to, a lot of that information is going to be covered. Soft skills, interviewing, teamwork, communication. It might behoove you when that class is offered in the fall of 2018 to take that class. It's about teaching you the skills you're going to need to survive in a large company or large institution environment, specifically related to tech. Okay, how many people like the idea of taking a class like that? Okay, quite a few. Okay, how many people honestly feel like they really need some practice in that stuff? Okay. Potential apprenticeship sites. California State Compensation Fund, SFUSD, City and County of San Francisco, and the San Francisco International Airport. So these are all government institutions, right? As time goes on, we're going to add, as cohorts go on, we're going to add more public, private sector employers. But these are the employers that we're looking at for now. Okay? Anybody have any questions about those employers?
So you said those are potential.
Potential, yeah. I mean, nothing is signed, sealed, delivered just yet, but those are the most likely folks at this point. Yeah.
The last time that you were doing
For this cohort, it's looking like these or things like these. Okay? All right. Yes.
Does anyone of those employers require security clearance?
A lot of them are. These are government institutions dealing with
Right. So
confidential
for this
information.
apprenticeship, they require security clearance.
That'll be on the employer. The employer is going to require a certain kind of, well, when you say security
I
clearance,
mean,
you're not talking about a background check.
Yes, the form, the SF 86 is like a security clearance kind of thing.
The basic background check, yeah, for all of those, you're going to have to do
No,
that.
it's not a basic background check. It's like a separate.
San Francisco International, they're going to do what's called a 10-year background check. It's
Right,
like,
that's wrong.
yeah. I don't know for sure about the other ones. SFUSD, you know, because it's a school district and you're around students from time to time, those will probably be more extreme.
Can you give some details about the SFO jobs?
So SFO has you know what? Richard,
Yeah.
do you have any details about the breadth and the types of positions they have available?
Right, let me just come up there.
Okay.
I've been called on a lot. So, everyone, how are you? You know, some of you guys know who I am. My name is Richard Boo. So for SFO, for particular, is a good friend of mine. He is a CISO. So there's a lot of jobs. One of the things I just want to make clear that cybersecurity, what Sam does is awesome. But what cybersecurity, the penetration testing, there's also jobs that after you hack the system, you say, okay, here's a list of vulnerabilities. Someone had to implement these things, right? So there's actually a business side. So when we talk to the CISO, he's like, great, you have engineers, but we have jobs for compliance. We need people who are security audited.
Oh man, that's so I'm gonna send you
to make sure all people.
GG.
So there's a business side of cybersecurity that we will be. I think Sam and I are talking about rolling out these classes coming out, like 501, which is CISA, 502. I'm thinking about systems, and so on.
Yeah,
so there are jobs in that category. So when you ask about for clearance, it depends on what level of data you could be touching. So for SFO, you need to pass a TASA for clearance. For San Francisco City of County, it depends on the role you're doing. And then again, it depends. So it depends on always what role you're going to play and how much are you going to interact with the data. And if you do, then, but for SFO, everyone in SFO will have to go through a TSA. That makes sense? I think I'll stay for that.
Okay, all right. California State Compensation Fund is huge. They are basically payroll for the entire population of state workers, and they have just a wide variety of cybersecurity jobs, anything you can pretty much think of, that list that we had up there. And SFUSD, probably about the same, but just less. City and County of San Francisco has a pretty big technology department. They hire specifically in a cybersecurity category. I don't know the specific positions. They also hire network engineers and system administrators. There is if you're interested in those positions, there is a site called SF Civic Tech. I do know people who have been, I've only been doing this here for 6 months. I do know people who've been hired. What you do is you get on a list and you take a test and then you wait. And then when something comes up, they call you. It's a process. It has a lot to do with the civil service system. Anybody familiar with that Byzantine system? Okay. We are going to do training at some point because these are all government entities. They're all run from a rubric of civil service and union positions and people having seniority and specific job descriptions you have to stay in. And I think it will be very helpful to some folks for us to have training on this. We have a wonderful person here from our HR department who's trained a couple of the other CTE programs. Her name's Karen White. We'll do a training with her probably before the apprenticeship starts so people can understand the permanent civil service system, the temporary system. You really need to know it, so you go into those systems with your eyes open, okay? All right, so
The compensation, the first one, is that downtown in the state building there, or is that?
I think it's more in Sacramento. Yeah, the central.
So the answer to the question, we don't know yet.
Okay.
So keep in mind, this list is there would be more potential we haven't put on the list. There's a couple of other I'm not going to disclose yet. But the list is a moving list, and there's going to be more. As you guys gone to the Sam's job fair, you guys see how this is explosive. It's this area is demanding. The question is, as we figure out how to work with the list is going to go on. So to answer your question, the answer is it'll be more clear once we get closer to August.
Okay.
That's just about the mailing list. Don't get upset if you don't get anything for a couple of months. How many people did not sign in front? I saw some people sneak by. How many people still need to sign in? Before you leave, go do that, or you won't hear nothing from us. Okay? And print legibly. I usually have, out of every 50 or so people who sign up for something, 3 or 4, I can't figure out their email. I try 3 or 4 different ways, and I still can't get to them. So please be sure and sign legibly, and you'll get updates as soon as we come up with them. All right? Questions. Most common question is DNS 40. I think I answered that already. Anybody need to hear anything about that anymore?
Do you have a glazed
second most
donut?
common question. Well, taking the advanced cybersecurity classes
Oh, okay. One
that will
glazed
be
donut.
required during
Oh,
the
do you have
apprenticeship, taking them before the apprenticeship,
Oh, you guys
help
have
or
all
hurt
kinds
your
of-
application. The answer to that question is yes.
Small
Taking
coffee and
those
a glazed
advanced cybersecurity classes can help your application. Okay. All right. End of the presentation, more or less, and it's more question time.
1 cream, 1 sugar, please. Thanks.
Anybody have questions for either me or Richard or
Sam.
or Sam? Oh, I'm sorry, Sam. I didn't see where you went when you snuck out. Okay. I thought you bailed on me, man. All right. Go ahead.
For somebody like me who's still working on taking these classes, there will be more
All right, bud.
rewards in the
Thanks.
future. For planning.
If it's a success, okay, and our intention is that.
So
if
this
it's
is only a
success-
pilot, guys. So keep in mind. So with all the good work Sam's been doing, and then we want to build. The vision is to build a bridge from what you guys learning to the industry. So the question is, goes back to the funder. And if this was a success, will they continue funding? And the answer is, well, we got to show them it's a success. So there's a egg and chicken problem.
No pressure on the first cohort here, right? If you screw up, it's messed up for everybody for the next few years. No, okay.
The city of San Francisco, County.
More about that. Okay. Any other questions? So we have hired some new people who are involved in the grant, and they're going to be putting together things like applications, and there'll probably be a website at some point and a formal admissions process. And I would expect that you would hear about that stuff towards mid to late spring. And if you're on these lists, you're going to get the email. Okay?
You're just not going to forget about it, right?
I'm not planning on forgetting about it.
Mention salary or rate of pay.
Okay, so in this whole thing, there is, so a lot of these places pay their interns $27 an hour, right? We don't exactly know, because this is new, where the apprenticeship wage is going to land. We've heard high numbers. We've heard nothing lower than 20. Each employer is going to be different. These are government institutions. I would be surprised if they were less rather than more. All right. But if you need to make $50 an hour, you might, try to find an IT job and move up laterally over 6 months, as opposed to doing 18 months at $27 an hour. I know this is San Francisco. Okay. But it's going to be, they'll probably all be grouped more or less in the same range, but some wages will be higher, some wages will be lower than others. All right. If that is, will we have information about that?
So to answer your question, so in the first meeting,
from the individual employers, as
right?
Yeah.
So we had a fixed amount that, so we also give the employer the flexibility to give you guys more or depend on their budget. So end of the day, so when it came in, we give them a guideline, and each employer followed that guideline. But some question came up. Some question was, we're unionized. You want to give more? Can we do that? Yeah, of course. Now some came up and we don't have limited budget. Can we give less? And so we made it options like, okay, this is what we would like to be standard, but because we don't want to lose them if they pay too less. And then so end of the day, as you guys already seen, cybersecurity is the pay is pretty high because of the shortage of labor. Does that make sense? So we will get a number, but each employer have the flexibility to change that.
And if you want to start high, the public institutions are a good place to start because they're going to be high compared to internship wages.
Unionized usually pretty high.
Okay. However, long term, the cap of how much you can earn might be lower than what you could earn in the private sector. Private sector might start you lower and you end up getting paid higher in the long run. Okay? So just keep all that in mind. Yes.
I applied for PG&E data center a couple of years ago, and they do level 4 background check, and they trace back 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So just letting people know that they're probably going to do the same for some of these entities.
I would imagine. Yeah, I would imagine. Other questions? Yeah. Huh? No, it's considered a wage.
Yeah, so the pay is going to be coming directly from the employer. So they agreed to certain numbers in their budget. So you actually will be working directly with them.
And did you ask that for tax purposes? Yeah, you're going to get a W-2 and you're going to have to. Yeah. Okay. Nice try, though. It is tax time. We're all thinking about that, right? Oh, I'm sorry. You got a question?
Yeah, in regards to the 40 for DNS that is not being offered until summer, do you anticipate giving preference to students who are doing the apprenticeship? So when it comes time for registering for those classes, do you anticipate letting those students sign up for the priority?
I don't think we can do that. First come, first serve, right?
Okay.
I've never had to turn anybody away in years. So we'll see what happens. What more likely than that, what we do is run 2 sections.
Yeah,
we'll see. I think
but Alan's right there, guys. So.
Yeah.
2 sections is probably the best solution.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I vote.
Are we going to be offering DNS 40 online?
No. Not in near time future. We can, but in the current, I think the current structure of the course, the answer is only basic.
How many of you in here have already had DNS 40? A third. Any other questions?
Has anybody ever talked about healthcare being offered?
Generally not, though different employers will deal with that differently. Then in apprenticeship and internship, generally not. Though with some of these state institutions, the union may.
Right. So we left the door open for them. So from my experience, the answer is most likely. But some union they say we want to. So hey, if you want to.
Yeah, and so to get these apprenticeships, they have to write new job descriptions,
right.
And they're part of the union. So it would be very odd, if it wasn't an option in some way.
We are in for candidates. Can we actually interview with more than one employer since we're going to have?
If you interview with the one employer that we sent you to as part of that 2 or 3 pool, and you think obviously 2 of those folks are not going to get hired if it's 3, yeah, we would do some shuffling around. Yeah, I've done a lot of that with different internships over time. Yeah.
And we're still going to have preferences, though, right? You mentioned preferences.
You can state your preference, right? But we can't guarantee it. Like if you apply to an internship with San Francisco, by the way, February 14th, San Francisco internships. That's the deadline. sfstudentintern.org. sfstudentintern.org. It's an online application. You got to, of course, have a resume and a bit of a cover, and then you have to answer questions. You choose technology department as your first choice, and then you can pick other departments after that. It is opaque. They don't list the positions. They don't have job descriptions, right? However, and you might think, oh, why would I even apply if I don't know what I'm applying for? I've had students get great $27 an hour internships, summer internships through that program. sfintern.org. Have you seen that site? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Just a side note. All right. And my point with saying that was that it's kind of a blind application process, and you interview with folks, and if they don't find the right spot for you in one department, they will give you the opportunity to apply to another department. From 3 people that I've known that have done it, there's multiple opportunities if they put you in the pool. Okay.
The number of people in the first candidate pool, is that going to be determined by the number of anticipated internships?
No, it's going to be 25 people.
It's fixed.
So it's 25 people regardless of the number?
Yes. Regardless of the number of employers.
Because the grant number they give us is not based on how many. So they give us certain fixed funding for certain fixed seats.
And so part of the grant money subsidizes the wages in many cases, and there's only so much money to subsidize to a decent wage. And so that's one of the reasons. It really depends on money. If we knock the ball out of the park in the first year, who knows? We could have more spots the following year.
I guess the other way I was wondering, are there going to be more people in that first candidate pool than
There will be more candidates, absolutely.
So 25 people for potentially.
So we will make the pool, initial pool, the way it's usually done. If there's 25 positions, your pool is a little bit bigger, or you add people to the pool if there are folks that never get hired, no matter how many employers they interview. Make sense? Yes.
Is any of this program contingent on City College's accreditation status going forward?
No, not at this point.
No, I don't think I agree.
I think that's been dealt with.
I don't think there's any issue with that. The accreditation is now resolved.
Yeah.
And I don't think it could be placed in jeopardy for several years yet anyway.
Yeah.
At any point when you're doing this internship, they say, like, how are you as a full-time employee?
Yes.
Yes.
There is there's a cost for that, right? It's employer subscription. Yeah. They could also let you go anytime. Just so you know, all right? It's like a job, right?
Yep.
So hold on. So people do programs, right? And in programs, right? And at the school and classes, you get to turn stuff in late. There's special circumstances. You cut some slack. If you're doing programs, like Tech SF, or any other tech programs or support programs, don't let those kind of give you the wrong idea about what the apprenticeship is going to be like. Yeah, they're going to train you. Yeah, they're going to know you're new. Yeah, they're going to support you. Yeah, you're going to have some assistance if you have a major problem, people supporting you. But do not think that it's going to be, like, hey, can you do that assignment? That's the deadline. The inspector says, yeah, I'm not going to be like that. Okay, so be ready to work in a real job, because it is in many ways a real job. Okay, right. You won't be out there on your own, right? There will be support should you get into a jam that you can't handle, right? But we'll do the best we can. Can't guarantee you, though, that they what they're going to do. Okay, private sector, not the public.
So in the private sector, you guys know if you guys are working in the private sector, 3 letters: work at will. That's all I have to say.
Work what?
Work at will.
At will, right.
So when we give private sector, our vision is to try to encounter them, just understand that all the internship I have done is those 3 letter words. It's basically, same thing, let go anytime or move on.
Anything else? Okay, we have a little more time. There was a slide here. I think we might have got a different PowerPoint one way or another. But I want to talk a little bit more about soft skills because it's so important. And I've met a lot of you over time in my office, had conversations. I think I know some of you pretty well, have a general sense of who's in the classes. And it's going to be really, a lot of you are very technically competent, okay? And any challenges you might have are going to be more in the soft skills area, all right? And so there's a lot of different types of soft skills. Where I see people having the most challenge, right, is in just how they get along with their coworkers, right? You're going to be, and this is something you're going to have to show in the interview. I mean, I'm looking mainly for two things, right? They're looking for your technical skills, and they're looking for, are you going to stay? And they're also looking for, are they going to want to hang around with you for 32 hours a week for 18 months, right? Are they going to want to hang around with you? So when you go in there to that interview, smile, be friendly, be cool. If you're so nervous that you can't relax a little bit and show them who your better nature, well, learn your material more, practice more, so that when you go in there, you know, they see who you really are, right? And if you have tendencies that are the kind of thing that have gotten you in trouble in previous workplaces, like you end up, you know, if you have a challenge or you get into something with somebody, you tend to kind of self-isolate. Some people do this in other places, and you don't go get help, and you're not proactive about solving things. That's going to be a problem. You're going to be in a team, right? You can talk to people all day long, conveying information. Okay? Communication skills, being proactive about meeting people, getting to know them, talking in meetings, not talking too much in meetings. You know, these are some of the basics, right? And we can teach this, and we can talk about it more. There's a few really basic exercises. Do I keep hitting this thing? There's a few really basic exercises that you can do over time to kind of check your self-awareness, right? And we can go over that. But, you know, soft skills are going to make or break you. Can anybody tell me what's the single most important thing about interpersonal communication with another person? Say it again. Eye contact is good. Yeah, you don't have your beams on. You're not like, right? But yeah, eye contact is a good one. Listening. There you go. That's the answer that I was looking for. Okay. You know, the thing that draws true reactions out of people is when you look at them and you listen to them and you give them feedback in terms of like, yeah, oh, you know, I didn't understand that. Could you say that again, maybe a different way? You know, things like that. Real basic. Okay? It's hard to do because it takes a certain amount of self-awareness. You're like, all of a sudden, you know, you were walking down the hall and somebody stops you, and then you're like, oh crap, I'm in an active listening situation, right? You got to have that kind of thing going, especially if it's your boss talking to you or somebody that you might have a, you know, some sort of issue with. Listening and then responding appropriately. Don't have all the answers all the time. This is really hard to do. Let's say you have the answer. You know you have the answer, right? Well, it might be more important for you to let somebody else have an answer that's not as good, depending on the situation. Does that make sense? Your social goal, your soft skills goal might be bigger than your technical goal or than being right.
But like in the field, isn't the person with the right answer?
Ooh, if that were that simple. It's not that simple.
Oh, cybersecurity. It's a bank.
Yeah, but what if they're talking about something that's not like that, something that's more general, like who's going to do what shifts and, you know, what projects people are going to be on and when you're going to have a meeting. And, you know, there's a lot of other stuff that's not purely related, you know. And there may be more than one answer to a solution, to a question, right? But so these are things that you, you know, one of the things I say is that if you've worked in places and you have people sitting around you, right, and you don't know like how many kids they have or where they went on vacation, right, 2 weeks ago, that's a problem. Yes, Eddie. Yes. Okay. I work with a couple of people. We don't have a whole lot in common. We are in totally different worlds. I mean, but I'm in the office with them, right? I know a lot about them. I don't sit there and like chop it up forever with them, but I'm just like, oh, what'd you do this weekend, right? And they like lunch. That's their favorite part of the day, right? I ask them, hey, what's on the menu in the cafeteria every day? I don't really need to know that. I got a sandwich and a salad in my backpack, but I'm just making conversation, okay? And you might think, a lot of you technical folks are like, oh, that's just some extra stuff, right?
So let me add into Steve. I was a senior manager for typical software, so I lead 38 teams around the world. I can assure you that I will hire someone I enjoy working with instead of hiring someone that I have a pain to put up with. I'll give you an example. We actually interviewed this one person. I thought I was going to hire him. I was going to make an offer. I was like, great. But before I made an offer, I said, I had my lieutenant, and I said, how do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? And they all talked negative, negative, negative. I'm like, whoa. I was about to make an offer. I'm like, why? And I want to know. Because as a manager, I'll tell you right now that if I brought that person in, he would change the dynamics of my team. Right. And I'm going to have a pain as a manager. I'm like, yeah, he's smart, and but he's an a-hole, and you're going to make all my dynamics that I go with in 2 years. So I assure you, I would not pick him up. Because like I said, we like to work with people we like. And if we don't like you, you don't get to pick your team. You're joining a team. So, and we're going to be evaluating you. So this is why I'm saying to you guys, like, corporate, in 20 years ago, maybe you could be a soloist. You might be the one who, in a garage, and you might make the last HP. Today, it's a multi-million-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar company. There's no soloist. You will hand off to a team in India. You'll hand off company into Eastern Europe or whatever. You need to be able to transmit teams. That's why one of the things I always see a lot is like, people get nervous and want to give me everything. I'm like, wait, I don't need everything. I just need that thing. Like, Rich, I got this. Cool. That's awesome, but I just need that information. So this is what I'm talking about lifting. Like, are you be able to do those things? I know sometimes, like, you want to make a good impression, but good impression is just being like, be confident, like what Steve went to talk about. So when we created this class of CNIT 11, we created on the feedback of employers. So CNIT 11, it was not a class that it's not a tech class. If you're going to a class that I'm going to learn something technical, this is not for you. This class with the feedback is from the employer that you send us the students. They're great technical set, but they're not ready for the marketplace. That was the feedback. So Sam and I have been looking at this and et cetera, and now we have this fine gentleman here. I'm going to leverage him because, like I said, for me, I'm a manager, and if I really don't like you, things will move on for you. But he come from a different world, and that's why I'm trying to say. So if you have a problem cannot work with the team, etc., this is a great class for you, and it's actually So there's always saying for when I look at team, I could hire someone and train them technically. That's not an issue. That's easy. But I can't change your personality. And if you're going to be mean and you're going to be like, don't come to my team. You're going to make my life miserable. So this is where I want. So soft skills sometimes even trump over technical skills.
So it's interesting. So he said, I can't change your personality. Okay, but you can learn certain specific skills, right, that allow you to function in the workplace. If you're naturally an introvert, okay, well, at the end of the day, you go home an introvert, right? But at work, you learn specific techniques and ways of not being an introvert, of being somebody who is openly communicating with other people, who is comfortable talking in a group, who's comfortable standing up in a meeting and saying something. You develop those skills. I guarantee you can learn them. I've seen many people do it. I myself, I used to tremble at the idea of public speaking. And then I got asked to give a really big, long speech in front of people I really respected. I cared what the hell those folks thought. And, I almost had a nervous breakdown. I went to Toastmasters. Luckily, I had like 2 months notice, right? I went to Toastmasters, and I went to like 6 Toastmasters meetings and got up in front of people I didn't know and made, speeches and presentations. And then by the time that thing happened, I was ready. Okay? And you can learn it. What happens is you get up and you do your spiel, and even if you mess up, right, you find out, I didn't die. My friends didn't leave me, right? I didn't disappear. Okay? That's a really great piece of information to have that really empowers and emboldens people to public speak or to do better at interviews. You know, if you interview with somebody and it doesn't work out, hey, you're never going to see them again. Take what you learned, keep it moving, right? It's not, that kind of stuff's not the end of the world, right? Even if you mess up, because there's so many different opportunities out there. These kind of skills are learnable. It's, you know, it's like a tech skill, but it's the tech of your emotions, it's the tech of how you feel, it's the tech of awareness of other people, the tech of observation, right? Tech of self-control, right? Self-control is a big thing. Like Richard said, he don't want to hear everything. He asks you a question, he don't want to hear everything, right? Well, can you keep your mouth shut? Can you just answer this question and keep it moving, right? That's self-control. That's being aware. Can you stop talking to him before his eyes glaze over and he gets annoyed, right? That's an awareness practice, okay? You can learn that. And especially if you start moving into any kind of management position, you have to have those skills. You have to, and you have to have them in ACEs. I mean, you really, it's what a manager does, right? Is they use those kinds of skills.
Managing people is the hardest job I ever had. Managing myself is the easiest job I had because I know what I can do. I don't know what other people can do. That's the reality. So when you manage other teams, you really need to understand how people work. People have needs and feelings.
And this is a good point. So then we have some modules here, some video modules, teaching modules put together by the Chancellor's Office of California Community Colleges on soft skills. And I was looking at a bunch of them this afternoon. And one of them they had was this man and this woman, they had an interaction. The man came to the office, the woman was working at her desk, and he asked her a real simple question related to their work. And she kind of looked at him a little bit funny and was like, okay. Well, a lot of people would take that personally, right? But you don't really know what a person is going through, right? You have no idea. They could have just got diagnosed with cancer. They could be a caregiver for their parent, or their child could have special needs. When people, treat you in a certain way, it might have nothing to do with you, right? And so giving people the benefit of the doubt until you know better, until they've done the same thing several times, extremely important, right? You really don't know what folks are going through. And having that emotional intelligence to not make snap judgments and say or do, or it's not so much saying or doing, you might just look at it, right? And that creates a problem further down the line. How many of you have had regular jobs in the corporate environment? Did you go to the staff birthday parties? Okay, about half of you. Did you go to the happy hour? Right? It's like, yeah, I sure did. Yeah.
But it wasn't drinking. It's just.
Yeah. I'm not saying you should go. I'm not saying that as part of your job you should go drink
alcohol at happy hours.
Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But these are the people that don't do that stuff are usually the people that are kind of having issues, right? They don't want to go because they don't feel comfortable, and they don't feel comfortable because they're not cool with it, right? And so that's a good example. Like if you find yourself like avoiding social situations at work, you need to look at that, right? And you need to identify what it is that you need to learn to where you become comfortable. Identify what's wrong. Identify who you need to have casual conversations with. I mean, you can fix a relationship with almost anybody by asking them what they did for the weekend, right? Or what, just basic, simple interests and questions about their life, right? And then sharing a little bit of your own. So I'm not going to beat this horse too much, but I really want you all, we really want you all to succeed, right? And learning those skills, getting that awareness of the whole communication, listening, good point, listening. You can solve most problems by listening. Nobody ever got fired by listening too much, okay? A lot of people get fired by talking too much. I mean, as you can probably tell, I can just keep talking. Okay, I know you guys want to go home, but I've learned. I was sitting next to my boss yesterday, and I'm talking in a meeting. I'm out of the corner of my eye. I was like, when's he going to look at me and give me that little look that I need to shut up? Okay, right? and I'm watching. I didn't used to do that. I talked too much, and I would get the message after the fact. Ooh, I talked too much. You know, I said too much. So little things like that. You know, I'm 53 years old. It wasn't so long ago that I learned that lesson, right? So, you know, unless you're the boss, and then you can talk as much as you want.
Even if you're the boss, you're not the boss because then you have customers.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like I say, you know, what the vision is, you know, is this is you know, the first time we offered this apprenticeship, and this is the first time we're gonna offer 11. We're gonna make mistakes, guys. I mean, we'll learn together, and we're gonna learn from it. The list you have is not gonna be a complete list. As we have moving target, we will get more employers. As we become more successful, we're gonna get stronger. That's how it works. And you know, you have great, you know, teacher like Sam and Alan. You know, that's awesome. And you have great employer specialists like Steve. You know, like I said, we are going this journey together, and we don't know what we don't know, right? And so I'll just be candid with you, and we all learn together. And are we going to make a mistake? You sure bet. But are we going to get up and do better? Absolutely. That's what we're here for.
Is that a good note to end on? Anybody have any questions? More questions?
There's a very small chance that you will never get a apprenticeship.
Yes.
You're not.
There is a chance. I won't say it's small. There's a chance. Yeah. You know, I mean,
you're not job qualified, put it that way. You're looking for something, but it's not you. Right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
They got a specific job.
You know what? I'm going to give an example. I didn't understand what he was saying. What did I do? I zeroed in on him. I stepped towards him and I said, can you say that again? Soft skills. I got trained in that. Okay? Sorry, go ahead.
They got a specific job skill they want.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't fit that. They're saying, no way. Not
well, it's an apprenticeship and there's going to be some training. So remember, they know it's an apprenticeship. They know that a lot of students are going to be taking classes during the apprenticeship. So there's some stuff that they're going to want, but they might not want it right then and there in the beginning. Right? So.
But I don't think you should lead people say, you're going to get a job.
I'm not saying that.
No, you shouldn't say that, but.
No, actually, I should.
On the other hand, you say, I'm not going to give it a try. I'm not going to get a job. I know that.
So this is a very good point, okay? We've got 25 spots. We're anticipating a lot of people applying, right? The only way you're guaranteed to not get an apprenticeship is to not apply, okay? And this is an issue. I'm going to do an actual workshop on this. I'm going to say this, bit of a pet peeve with me. The only way you're not going to get an IT job is if you don't apply. All right? My job is to get people jobs, right? That's the end game for me. And when somebody comes to me and they say, I'm having a hard time finding a job, I say, well, how many jobs have you applied to? One, and I got rejected, or none. Right? And I said, okay, a little bit funny. I'd say, well, you don't have an IT job because you're not applying for IT jobs. There's supposedly a lot of them out there. I posted 4 or 5 jobs just recently, right? 4 or 5 jobs, internships, jobs, where I had individual contact with the employers. One of them holding a job for me specifically for one of my students, right? Nobody applied. Sent it out to 450 email addresses. Okay? That, if you guys want to work, that's got to change. We want CTE, Career Technical Education. It should be an employment churning machine, right? And people need to learn to apply. Learn from their mistakes, apply again, apply. Most people apply to dozens. Some people apply to hundreds of jobs before they get hired, right? Talk about resiliency. You get rejected 100 times and you keep doing it, right? Or you go out and you get the skills they asked you to have that you didn't have. That's resiliency. And I don't think it's that bad. I don't think people are going to have to apply for 100 jobs. All right?
The market right now is very hot.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. A lot of human nature is we hate to be rejected, right? I mean, it's not, you don't feel good, right? You're all pumped up, you get rejected. It's part of life, right? I remember when I was younger, I had applied for a job. The next job I got was I had to go through 72 times.
72. Ooh, Rich.
That was when I was young and not wise. But again, like if you look at Colonel Sanders, right? Like KFC got rejected what 5,000 times before you open KFC. Same thing. You got to go through the process to get yours better. If you fear being rejected, and the result is you got nothing. You never tried, right? So at the end of the day, have a positive thinking, right? I mean, your reality is going to be what you see. If you think you're not going to get it, you're pretty much not going to get it. But if you have a negative attitude, I didn't get it. Yeah, you're not going to get it. Your reality is what you perceive it is. So have a positive, and we do our job to get you more opportunity, but we can only get you so far. Right? You got to do that. You got to go all the way.
So I'm going to tell you a little secret, okay? If you apply for jobs in general, you're going to get rejected a fair amount, all right? It does not mean that you were not qualified. It does not mean that you were not a lame person. A lot of times what it means is they already had somebody in mind, but in order to meet the requirements of the law, they had to interview a bunch of other people, okay? I heard a statistic, and this don't make no sense to me, but I heard these big tech companies for software engineering positions, they hire 50% of their hires come from interns, and 50% come from people who know somebody. And there's no light between the 50 and the 50. It can't all be that way because they do hire new people that they don't know. But a lot of times it really is not you. It's a process. You might have to churn through a bunch of them, right? Don't take it personally. They might have to interview 5 people in order to hire their brother or their college classmate.
LinkedIn is a good example. In order for you to work LinkedIn, you need to know someone in LinkedIn. That's one of the requirements that LinkedIn
Kind of makes sense, right? LinkedIn, yeah.
LinkedIn, you have to know someone that already can refer you into LinkedIn.
Right.
Quick question just about the panel discussion. It's going to be next week. Is that on Tuesday or Wednesday?
February 6th is what? Wednesday, right?
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday?
Sunday.
Okay, the other one is tomorrow on a Wednesday, the networking workshop. So yeah, the panel's Tuesday. Sorry about that. Yeah. But hold on one second. But you need to register. Okay? Did you get the flyer?
Yeah.
Okay. There's an address on there to register. Okay? All right. I'm sorry.
Sorry, can I mention about those panels?
Oh, okay. So tomorrow there is a networking workshop here, MUB, 2:30, 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. And it is a precursor, intended as being a precursor for a career panel on February 6th. We're going to have 5 people there. We've got Florama Duravalis, who's a Facebook Launchpad Oculus Rift Scholarship Fellow. She's worked there on her own projects for a year. And then the way that works is at the end, from all the fellows, they give one of them venture capital to start their own company. She's the one that got the venture capital. She's going to be here on that career panel. Okay. Anybody here into game? Does the Unity gaming thing at all? Okay, no. All right, wrong class. Right? She's also going to be working with the computer science department, showing Oculus Rift to some of their students. And so you need to. You probably got the email, right? Okay. All right. Talk to me afterwards. All right, because you got to register. All right. Any other questions? All right. How do y'all feel about soft skills right now? How many of you are like, oh boy, I gotta get on that? Yeah, good. That's good. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. If you did not sign in, please sign in.
Hey, buddy.
Your certificate of 3.